Over the past 20 years, I've been known as a creative director, graphic designer, business owner, community mentor, and even a college professor. So being a street photographer is something relatively new for me. I didn't pick up a camera until late 2019, and literally a few months later, the entire world shut down due to the pandemic. So street photography was virtually impossible. But fast forward to end of 2021, beginning of 2022, when things started opening up again, I was finally able to hit the streets and start shooting. Now that I've had some time to reflect on my journey, I feel like I could share a few things for any new street photographer out there. So in no particular order, here are 7 things that I've learned as a new street photographer. All right, so number 1 is kind of obvious, but I wanted to start from a good place. Do it for the love. Most street photographers aren't here shooting for recognition or to win some awards or even to make a lot of money. We're out on these streets because we're passionate about life. We want to document our surroundings and we want to tell important stories through our perspective. On a personal note, street photography allowed me to unplug from my work life and just create something for myself. I was able to create on my own and at my own pace without any distractions or expectations. That's why I fell in love with street photography. For me, number 2 is essential. You've got to create personal projects. See, this is what I was missing in my professional career. I was so focused on creating for the client and delivering exactly what they wanted that I forgot how to create something for myself. I had a really powerful photo that I had captured during the height of the pandemic, and I wanted to put that on a tee. Out of my first clothing line in like grade 10 or 11, I was selling t-shirts out of my locker and out of the trunk of my mom's car. And you know what? I love making clothes. So I went through the process of understanding what direct-to-garment is. I went through the process of trying to understand how to do a studio shoot, because before this, I'd only ever been on the street. But I got to step into the studio, work with models, hair, makeup, and lighting. And it was an incredible experience. I came up with another project that I entitled 28 Photos Later. It was during the month of February, and every day for the entire month, I dropped a new mini Polaroid. The idea was really just to make art accessible, have fun, and share my work in a way that people haven't experienced it before. I also got to create a project in collaboration with a really dope photographer out of New York named Sen Floyd. I spent some time in his city, he spent some time in my city. We actually created a body of work and made a photo book out of it. But I'm gonna save those details for another video. Number 3 is literally something you can do for the rest of your life. Study your craft. Before I even picked up a camera, I went down the YouTube rabbit hole, probably like most of us, and I watched guys like Willem, Vulandez, Mike Gray, Grainy Days, my guy Ribsy. You know, the list goes on and on. There's so many incredible people on YouTube. But then I stepped up my research game a little bit more and I started going to the bookstore. This created a whole nother problem because now I'm addicted to photo books. But for real, photo books are an incredible source of inspiration and a great way to study the greats. Another way I like to learn is by going to the art gallery. I love seeing how different artists and photographers display their work. I've literally been to art galleries around the world and I don't think I'll ever stop. If you've never been to the ICP in New York, International Center of Photography, please check that out. I've been to places like Grand Rapids, Michigan for an incredible exhibit by 2 of my favorite photographers, Dawood Bey and Carrie Mae Weems. Last but not least, don't be afraid to ask questions. I reached out to so many different photographers when I started, and I find that the photography community as a whole is extremely nice, very supportive, and you know what? There's no harm in asking. The worst thing someone could say is no. Number 4 is really intimidating, but at the same time extremely helpful. Get out of your comfort zone. I got out of my comfort zone right off the jump. I chose to shoot with a 28mm fixed lens on the Leica Q2, as well as my point-and-shoot film camera, the Ricoh GR1V. The 28mm forced me to get extremely close to my subject. It also challenged me in framing and composition. I knew that if I didn't start street photography with a 28, I probably wouldn't have gotten out of being shy or scared to take photos or even approach people on the street. The next thing I did to get out of my comfort zone was something I actually never thought I would do. I reached out to a few production companies to see if I could shoot BTS on set. I figured the street is kind of like shooting BTS photography anyways, so I wanted to know if my skill set could be transferred from a street setting to a commercial setting. There's a quote by the famous photographer Edward Steichen: "A portrait is not made in the camera, but on the other side of it." So I reached out to some of my friends and I said, look, can I please take your photo? I need to get better at talking to people, working with people, and trying to honestly just get the best version of that person when I'm taking a photo. Number 5 on my list is discover your style. This is something that takes a long time and you shouldn't expect to get it overnight. But you can definitely trust in the process and know that eventually certain things are gonna line up and everything is gonna make sense. For example, when I first started shooting street, everything was in color. Whether I was shooting digital or film, it really didn't matter, it was always color. Fast forward 2 years later and almost all of my street photography work is black and white. So here are a few things that you could think about when you're developing your style. What do you like to shoot? Architecture, people, places? Are you into bold colors or monochromatic? Are you interested in digital or film? Because there's a lot of differences in personal style and aesthetic. And the most exciting thing about discovering your style is finding your voice. Number 6 is share your work. Believe it or not, this is one of the hardest things for me to get over. In a world where social media runs literally everything, I just couldn't bring myself to start posting work, or at least posting work with my name attached to it. I created a burner account just to post photos where no one would know my name or know who I was. I don't know if I was scared or maybe I just wasn't ready to let the world know that I'm a photographer now. But over the last year, I've understood and started to really appreciate how important it is to share your work. I'm gonna break down just a few ways of how sharing my work helped me out. Over the last year or so, my confidence has finally started to build, but I know I can still learn a lot. So I decided to post and share some of my work to different photo contests and portfolio reviews. One of those opportunities was from Lens Culture. They offer photographers the chance to not only submit work, but they also allow you to ask for a peer review. So I actually paid maybe 20 bucks and submitted 5 images, and I got a full breakdown and review from a professional photographer. One of the coolest opportunities I got was from a DM from Adobe Lightroom. They were co-curating an online gallery called Life Reflected with street photographer Andre Wagner, aka Photo Dre. They reached out and asked if they could feature one of my photos in the gallery and if Dre could edit it. Another dope opportunity came from just tagging a film company on one of my online posts. I tagged Silbersalz 35, which is a German-based film company, and they loved my work. They actually reached out to ask if they could share my work on their Instagram page. And of course I said yes, that's a huge opportunity. Last but not least, number 7 on my list is find your community. I know this may not be for everyone, especially if you're an introvert or extremely private about sharing your work, but for me, I found a lot of value in finding my community. I normally would just do photo walks by myself, so I just posed an open question and an invite to my audience, and over the last year and a half, I've probably hosted like 4 or 5 photo walks. One thing I made sure to do was join a lot of online conversations. Back when Clubhouse was poppin', I was in every single photo room you could imagine, just listening and taking in advice and career knowledge and tips and tricks from different photographers from around the world. Another thing I would join would be artist talks. I made sure I would log on and watch artists like Devin Allen, Alex G. Harper, and my homie Steve Sweatpants. Each and every single one of those photographers is incredible, and I learned a lot just from listening to them share their story. Another thing I did was join a local community darkroom here in Toronto. It allowed me to instantly tap into the film photography community that I had no access to before joining this group. And that wraps up my list of 7 things I learned as a new street photographer. I hope you got some takeaways, something that you learned from or could use in the future. And if you have any questions or feedback, please feel free to leave it in the comments section below. Thanks for watching.